I told him, "I've lost my attraction for you. Here are the divorce papers." But he had planned revenge. Love is so strange and difficult sometimes. Is it just for me? I fell out of love and then got punished for it. I did something I will forever regret in my life. And here's my story, guys. I hope I will find some support and advice among you. I never thought I would be here to write my own story, but here I am falling apart while writing the story of my life and the things that I never thought would happen to me. I am Jenny, and I am 33 years old. I married Jack, the love of my life, a few years ago. Me and Jack were the perfect couple. Everyone used to tell us that we were made for each other. Ever since I knew him, we could never get apart. It was love at first sight, and we met at work. He was my colleague back in time. From that colleague, he became my friend and then my boyfriend. Well, you know now that from boyfriend, he was my husband. And now we have passed from being everything to each other to strangers that hate and hurt each other. I can't believe how someone you love so much can turn into a stranger. But it happens, and it happened to me. Jack was one that always had many friends. He was the extrovert type, and I was the introvert one. I didn't like going out so much, and I didn't like having many friends. So you may easily guess that when he went out, I wanted so much to stay home. As an introverted type, I loved texting with people and not talking. While my husband went out, I spent my time on my social media. It was easier there. My husband used to go out a lot with his friends. He always asked me to go with him. He would practically beg me to do that. I did go sometimes because I didn't want him to feel bad or lonely when all of his friends were with their partners. While he went out almost every weekend and I stayed in almost all of the time, a distance started growing between us. I tried talking to him so many times, but things started to get very difficult. He used to tell me that I had turned into an old woman that only liked staying inside or just with him. It was not like I wanted to do things and I wanted to go out, but I wasn't interested in spending them with him outside. I mean, I wanted us to go on trips together, like international trips. You can't go out every weekend with friends at the same few spots. We were turning into strangers that were just sharing the same apartment. By the way, the apartment where we lived was his parents'. Our life as a couple continued like this for some months. While he wanted to live his life, I was trying to build ours. It seemed as if we could not find common ground, no matter how we tried, but we still loved each other very much. So I decided to seriously talk to him. We decided that we would go out with his friends, but we also would do the things that I loved doing with him. So it seemed like things were taking the right turn this time until I fucked up. I started going out with my husband a lot. Guess what changed? Going out with him, I met one of his friends whose name was Sam. Sam was a tall guy and very handsome. He had black hair and brown eyes. His body was very masculine. I didn't want to cheat on my husband, it just happened. The situation we were in made me feel so lonely. The mistake was that I didn't try to escape the loneliness by reconnecting with my husband, but instead I ran into his friend's arm. It all started when Sam one night noticed that I was kind of bored and whispered in my ear, "What happened, beautiful? Did Jack make you angry? Because that man doesn't know how to treat a woman like you." I just turned and stared at him like I was shocked. I mean, he was handsome and he had attracted my attention since the first day I saw him, but I never thought that we could have something together. So I turned and also smiled at him and told him I was okay. Then he asked for my phone. He took it and wrote his phone number in it, and then he sent a message to his phone so he could have my phone number also. I was starting to feel like a teenager. I wanted to live a new experience because I was tired of worrying and trying to fix things. I went home that night, and I felt kind of happy. The next day, a text message appeared on the screen of my phone. It was him telling me if we could grab a coffee real quick that morning. Usually I used to have my morning coffee with my husband at home before going to work, or sometimes I would have a coffee at my office. But yeah, I told him a place where we both could meet for coffee. My husband didn't ask any questions. He had never been the jealous type. He always wanted me to be like him, an extroverted type. He wanted me to enjoy life and feel happy, but he never doubted that I was being unfaithful to him. Actually, I had never been unfaithful to him until the moment I met his friend Sam. Sam got me out of my track. He drove me into the road I never thought I would walk into. I went that morning to grab coffee with Sam, and time flew so fast. We talked about general things. He also told me that Jack was his friend, and logically it was not okay what we were doing, but he liked me so much that he could not stop himself. Also, he told me that Jack was a great guy, but he couldn't treat me right. He knew about the night Jack went out and left me alone. Well, honestly, Jack asked me every time to go with him, so he wanted me to be with him. I was the one that chose to stay home alone, but I didn't tell Sam that. Anyway, it seemed like me and Jack had many differences I had not noticed before, and I thought that love was enough. Well, actually, Jack meant a lot to me, but here I was getting coffee with one of his friends who flirted with me the night before. I could not believe myself, but I also didn't want to leave. Sam told me about himself a little. He was married and divorced and had a baby girl. They got divorced because his wife cheated on him, and now he was ready to cheat with someone's wife. Like I said, time flew away and I had to go to my office, but we kept chatting with each other almost all the time. We both were acting like teenagers. We would not stop writing and talking about everything. It was like I could talk to him all the time and not get tired. So it went on like that until the weekend came and my husband asked me to get to work dinner with him. This time he was not going out with his friends, but his company was throwing a party because it was its anniversary. So my husband told me that he would want me to go with him because everyone else was going with their partners. But I told him I was not feeling okay and I could not go. I was very sorry, but I had to leave him alone there, and I noticed that he got really upset but didn't say anything. He just got ready and went out without saying even a word to me. I knew he would come home very late, so I took advantage of that fact and invited Sam over. And yeah, you all might be thinking that I was very careless and stupid. How could I invite him to our home? Anyway, I did, and he was very happy to come. Of course he was. So I cooked for us and fixed the table in a very romantic way. I also lit up some candles. After doing all this, I went to our bedroom and took a shower. I wanted to feel and look beautiful and hot for Sam, so I put on a black long dress, which made my body look like I had been going to the gym for my whole life. Actually, it's been years since I last went to the gym. I got it from my mama, as they say. I know I am not being modest, but my body is naturally skinned and looks very good. But let's go back to the main subject. I got that dress on, and then I did just a little makeup. As soon as I got ready, the door rang, and Sam was standing all handsome at the door. He looked at me from my toe to my head and bit his lip lightly. It seemed like he liked what he saw. I was out of my mind while doing these things, but I was loving the experience. It felt like I got out of my comfort zone, and I was really enjoying it. I was risking everything, my life, my marriage, and all of it, but I couldn't stop. It was strange the way I was feeling. I felt like I could do anything for that experience because it was making me feel alive. I was feeling alive with Sam. We went and sat at the table and started talking while we were also eating dinner. Sam was all a gentleman. He complimented me about the food and about my look. He said that I looked very hot and sexy. And Sam also said it was so hard for him to resist me. Then he came near me and kissed my neck. It gave me a shiver, and I felt like I was craving more. But he didn't stop. He continued kissing me from my neck, to my ears, to my lips. While doing this, he had put his hands on my breast and was touching it softly. I was getting very horny. The passion felt like it was exploding. He kept kissing me and touching every bit of my body. It felt amazing. I wanted him to go inside of me as soon as possible. But also, I wanted this experience to last longer. He got me in his arms and put me over the table. It was crazy we did it over the table while everything was there. But don't misunderstand, the table was big. There was plenty of space. I know you will judge me, but I could not stop screaming and moaning. The pleasure I felt had reached its limits. Sam gave an orgasm that I never wanted to stop. After we both finished, I still was craving more. I offered Sam a glass of wine and invited him into our bedroom. I feel so ashamed now. We laid down in the bed I slept in with my husband, hugging each other and talking. Then we started kissing again. Sex was crazy, guys. So crazy I would stay in with him for days. He was so strong and knew how to make a woman happy. We did it 3 times. and the 3 times I experienced the orgasm. So I cheated on my husband with his friends and in our bedroom. Could it get any worse? Yes, it could. Of course it could, and you will find out while you keep reading the story of my life. That night went by and my husband didn't find out anything. I was careful this time to clean and hide everything. In the morning I sent him a message and asked him if we could repeat the last night because I could not stop thinking of him and the sex we had. He told me that we could make things better. He asked me if we could meet after work for a little while, and of course I said yes, even if I knew I was taking over a big risk. My affair could destroy anything. Normally I was not an adventurous person, but Sam had turned me into one. I had changed so much since I met him. He took me on a short date after work. We went into a park full of trees. It actually was a forest. Parked the car and started kissing my lips and my neck. I could not resist those kisses, so I surrendered myself to him without thinking twice. The old me would have never done a thing like that. Have sex in a forest with someone I didn't know for a long time. The old me would have never cheated on her husband in the first place. Anyway, sex in the forest was amazing. I truly enjoyed it. It felt amazing. But I could not believe what I was doing, and while I was doing all those things, I thought that my husband didn't doubt anything. Actually, he was doubting, and he was planning his revenge in details while I was having sex and enjoying Sam's presence. I really was so stupid. When I got home after having sex in the forest, my husband asked me where I had been, and I just told him I stayed late at work. He didn't seem to trust me at that moment, but anyway, at that moment, I didn't think too much about it. I was feeling like I was living in the clouds. Sex, pleasure, and Sam in general had hypnotized me. I was blind during that time, and I could not notice what I was doing. While with my husband, we rarely had sex. To be honest, I could not bear to feel his body in my body. It was very difficult for me, and for sure, he did notice the change in our sexual life. Honestly, we had never had a very passionate sex life, if I compare it with the sex I was having with Sam. I was so stupid. Our lives had changed, and I was thinking that my husband would not notice it, while Jack was a very smart man. Jack had actually started to notice everything. He started to stay home most of the time and he would not go out anymore. Well, he did, but not so often like he used to. But every time he went out, I invited Sam over, and I had sex with him in the same bed I had sex with my husband. I know now wrong I am, but it is too late. So while I was inviting Sam to our home, I never thought that Jack would come home early on purpose. Guess what happened? Yeah, I am sure that you all are thinking the same thing. He came home one night and found me and Sam having sex. He actually did. But I never knew it until he told me before getting divorced. He opened the door, listened to us having sex, and he went away because he was planning his revenge. Sam and I liked trying different positions every time, so not every time we did it on our bed. Sometimes we did it on the table in the kitchen or on the sofa. Sex had been driving us crazy, but it was not only about sex. Sam was a great guy. He had the biggest heart. Also, he was sometimes romantic, because one day he brought me flowers in my office, and almost every time he came to me, he had a rose in his hands for me. He made me feel so good and made me feel valued and worthy. He also made me feel beautiful and sexy by saying different compliments to me, a thing that my husband never did. My husband was not being a very romantic type after our marriage, and Sam reminded me how it felt to be loved and liked. It was very good. I always tried to hide or throw away the roses that Sam brought to me, but later on I would find out that I had not been very careful. It is time to tell you about his plan and how I asked him to get divorced. Like I told you, I like Sam very much, and I didn't feel any attraction for my husband. We had reached a point where we could not have sex anymore. So I decided to ask him for the divorce. When I did, he told me that he needed to think a little because he was not feeling good. So he asked me if we could talk the next day. He only asked me why I was doing that. Why was I destroying what we had? I told him, I've lost my attraction for you. Here are the divorce papers. But he had planned revenge. At that moment, he didn't seem surprised or shocked, but he looked hurt. And at that moment, I really felt sorry for him. He left home while he asked for a little more time, and I was left there with 1,000 doubts. I was thinking if it was the right thing to divorce him. What I was really doing, I barely knew Sam, and what I did was unforgivable, cheating on my husband with his friend. Seeing him hurt made me feel so bad and like I was the worst person in all the world. I started remembering how he was such an important person to me and how I loved him more than anything or anyone else in the world. Now we have reached this point, and I could not understand how I chose the easiest way and escaped this marriage by cheating on my husband with his friend, not even with some stranger but his friend. But I didn't even feel guilty for what I had done. I kept thinking about the future I was going to have with Sam and how happy he was going to make me. Well, I had so many plans in my head, and I was so confused. When I told Sam that I wanted to get divorced from my husband, he didn't show any emotions. He just told me, "Don't get divorced because of me. I don't want to be the reason why you do that. Jack is also a friend." I couldn't believe what he was saying. So Jack was a friend, but he was okay sleeping with his wife? Do you guys sleep and have sex with your friends' wives? Because it doesn't sound like a normal thing to me. It seemed like he didn't feel anything for me, like he just wanted sex and that was it. I asked him if he was serious with what he said, and he told me that he was very serious. He told me that sex with me was amazing and we could be friends with benefits, but nothing more. I mean, I can't do that to Jack. He said. Do what? What? We had done everything. He betrayed his friend's trust, and I cheated on my husband. So there was nothing left to be done. But he said he could not be in a real relationship because Jack was his friend. All he could offer me was a friendship with benefits. Yeah, I cheated on my husband, but I am not the type to be friends with benefits with someone. However, I lost it. I have to tell you how the story goes on. Me and Sam would talk later about us. The next time I still had the divorce papers and I was waiting for my husband to sign them. We would talk after work, that is what he told me. The next day after work, I went home straight after finishing work, and guess what I found home? My husband and my friend having sex on the sofa? I was shocked. He took revenge on me by doing the same thing I did to him. He flirted with my friend, and he won her over and started an affair with him. He stopped after he saw me, and I couldn't say a word because of the shock. While he was putting his clothes on, and my friend too, he told me he was sorry he forgot we needed to talk and he needed to sign the divorce papers. I asked, how could he? And he replied with the same question, how could I? He told me he had to hear my moaning and Sam's in his own bed, and he just left. He told me that he followed us and found me with him, and he also found some of the roses he sent me. He also said that I was the worst person, and I deserved more than being cheated on with my friend. I didn't want to talk to my husband, and honestly, I don't want to change the direction of the story because there is more. He planned and booked a long trip with me with the money that was in our joint bank account. He told me that. I didn't notice that, but he had taken everything from our bank account. I have taken everything from you, he told me, and now you can take your things and get out of my house. I was shocked, very shocked. He cheated on me with my husband, but he also took the money I had. He took everything I had. I could not blame him, however. It didn't end there. He sent an envelope with some pictures of the notes and roses from Sam to the house of my parents, letting them know that I cheated on him. I was heartbroken, and I went to our bedroom to get my things and leave. I felt hurt and humiliated, and I did know how it felt to be cheated on with a friend. I destroyed everything I had. I lost our home, my husband, and everything. I was left without $1 in my pocket, but at least I had a job. So yeah, I grabbed my things while Jack was drinking wine with his affair, my friend, and enjoying it, and also getting ready for an adventure he was paying for with our money. It wasn't fair, but also what I did wasn't fair. It was the most humiliating, disgusting thing you could ever do to someone. I did that before, and my husband made me the same thing just to show me how it felt. It felt like the world was falling down. My husband was a great person, but somehow I forgot it. Life has a strange way to drive you into the wrong ways. That's what happened to me. However, I could not blame fate, for it was my fault for everything. I was the one that chose the wrong way. I escaped my husband and didn't talk to him. I forgot about the love we had and about how much I cared about him. I forgot about what kind of person he was. There is much to blame me about, and I'm sure that you all will judge me about what I have done. But wait, guys, because I am not done with our story yet. After I got my things, I went to my parents' house. They let me in, but they interrogated me and asked me if it was real that I cheated on my husband because they got a note. I could not lie to them. I immediately started crying and told them it was true. I told them I was very sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. My dad started screaming and telling me that they didn't raise me like that. Growing up, they taught me that morality and honesty are the most important things in a marriage and in life, and they always told me to be honest with everyone and mostly with myself. I could see in their eyes how disappointed they were in me. My heart had been broken twice in the same night. Once, while I saw my husband or ex-husband with my friend, and once I noticed that I broke my parents' hearts, and I saw the disappointment in their eyes. I could never forgive myself for that, because they were the most valuable thing I had in my life. They meant the world, and my affair let them down. My affair destroyed my marriage, hurt my parents, and also made me lose myself. I am a mess now, guys. My dad and mom told me that they were allowing me to stay home just because I was their daughter, but they would not forgive me. No matter how much I told them, I regretted everything that I did. I was stupid and blind, and I didn't know what I was doing. With tears in my eyes, I begged them to forgive me. My heart was breaking. My life was falling apart, and it felt like I was a total failure. And now I was just a problem to my parents. I have lived to make them proud and reward them for everything they have done for me always. But here I was. Not even did I make them proud, but also turned into a big disappointment. And I had turned my life into a mess. But also, I was very thankful that they allowed me to stay there. Beautiful. I had no other place to go. It doesn't all end here because Jack had planned more. The next day I had to go to work because I needed money, and no matter how hurt I was, I had to work. But when I left Jack's home, he intentionally didn't ask me to leave my keys, and I forgot to leave them. He did that so he could come to my workplace and make a scene and tell everyone what I did. So he wanted to humiliate me more and more. For him, it wasn't enough that he also cheated on me with my friend, told my parents what I did, and took all of my money. He also wanted to humiliate me in front of my colleagues. That is what he did. And while I was devastated and trying so much to concentrate and work, I heard his irritated voice screaming, "Where is that Jenny? Where is he? Wasn't it enough that she cheated on me with my friend, but she also took the keys to home with her? Come out and give me my keys." My colleagues were shocked, and I felt so humiliated. Never in my life had I felt so humiliated. I went out and threw his keys at him. I didn't say a word I couldn't. I was very shocked and humiliated, and I felt like I was holding the weight of all the world on my shoulders. I did that, and I went straight to my office, but I could feel my colleagues staring and whispering about me. They would hate me, and they would whisper and gossip about me for a long time because I knew them, and because what I did was really bad. So here I am, guys, living life, but I am so messy and heartbroken, trying to get myself together and just live. It's not easy while my life has fallen apart. I hope you will somehow forgive me and support me as a human being because I really need that. Thank you for reading my story. Update. Hello, Reddit guys. It's me, Jenny, the cheating and humiliated girl that destroyed her own life because of her stupid decision. I am back for one last update of my story because many of you had questions. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who tried to walk in my shoes and told me to be gentle with myself because everyone could make mistakes and I am only human. Well, guys, there isn't much to tell you about, actually. I am still a mess, but also, no matter what a mess I am, I have to work. I go to the same job no matter how humiliating it is. Some of my colleagues still whisper about me, but I do have some people that really are trying to stay close to me, and I'm also thankful for that. I haven't heard any more from my husband, Jack. I did ruin his life and mine also, and I wish I could turn back time, but I can't. It is what it is. Regarding Sam, when I first went to my parents' home, I tried to call him, and while I was crying, I told him what happened, but he told me that it was none of his problem. He didn't care, and he used me for sex. I was so stupid to think that maybe he had feelings for me like I began to have for him. I destroyed my life. And here I am trying to rebuild it, living with my parents while trying to find a small apartment. This is what happens when you do wrong to people, guys. This is what happens when you don't think about what you are doing. I am living the consequences of my stupid actions now. That's it. Thank you for reading my story. Much love, Jenny.